Hey guys, number one Marmaduke fan here, and this is take 4. People keep calling me. It's crazy, but we're looking at Mighty Jack by Ben Hatke. Ben Hatke is the creator of Zeta the Space Girl. I reviewed volume 1 of Zeta the Space Girl in like my first couple months as a YouTuber, and I think that video was titled "Take a Break from Twitter Drama to Read Zeta the Space Girl." There was a while when I gave a super chat to Diversity in Comics and asked him to use it to buy Zeta the Space Girl for Princess Diana, and months went by and he kept forgetting to get Zeta the Space Girl. I kept teasing him about it, and after all that, he finally got it, and Princess Diana didn't like it. Wah, wah, wah. sad horn sound effect for me. But I really think there's something primal and beautiful about what Ben Hatke does with storytelling. So who knows? Maybe Princess Diana will grow to appreciate it. The reason I'm reading Mighty Jack is I think I saw on Twitter he did some crossover art of Mighty Jack and Zeta the Space Girl, which means there might be a crossover coming for them in the future. And I guess my sort of short spoiler-free review of Mighty Jack is Ben Hatke is an artist who combines he openly embraces a very loose, sketchy cartoon style. The appeal of the style is in its cartooniness and in its sort of like quick, immediacy. And he's someone who I think gets the importance of the fairy tale as kind of a metaphor for life. So in a lot of fairy tales, they're very simple, they're very mysterious and odd. They don't explain every little thing. And I think what Ben Hatke gets is when he looks at a fairy tale like Alice in Wonderland or like Jack and the Beanstalk, he thinks about what is Jack and the Beanstalk, which means when he does his version of it, it's not just Jack and the Beanstalk in space. He gets the appeal of the character. So the appeal of Zeta the Space Girl is that it's sort of Legend of Zelda plus Alice in Wonderland. Little girl gets zapped into a strange alien world where everything is bizarre and unusual to her. But he makes her story all about taking responsibility for a mistake she makes and going through difficulty in order to make it right and save her friend. And he also kind of like connects with the emotion of the character. He takes breaks to show how she's not everything's going easy for her. There are emotional problems with having to go through all of this difficulty and all of this struggle just to get through things. And he's done that with the Jack and the Beanstalk story. So what's the Jack and the Beanstalk story? Jack's mother gives him some money, gives him the cow to go sell to help the family survive. And Jack meets a salesman who convinces him to trade the cow for some magic beans. And because of this, Jack gets in big trouble. But the magic beans grow the magic beanstalk, and Jack goes and he faces the giant, and the whole family, after he defeats the giant, the whole family is rich. So Jack's mistake opens up opportunity for the whole family. Mighty Jack follows that basic idea, but then brings in maybe some sort of Hayao Miyazaki elements into it, where Jack meets someone, he makes a dumb mistake, but then this sort of opens up a magical world that he, his sister, and his neighbor Lily get to experience. I'm just going to start flipping through it, because show rather than tell. So Jack's younger sister seems to be autistic, or she's non-communicative, and she doesn't talk. She kind of behaves in strange ways. It's difficult for her, which means that Jack is in a position where, because his father isn't there, father's abandoned the family, he has to be responsible for her. So his struggle is, how do I become a responsible young man? How do I grow up? Lily, his neighbor, what I like about this is it's not like a romance, but it's sort of like they're two little 13-year-olds. They are sort of interested in each other at first, and then they both clearly have a crush on each other. But because they're 13 years old, that's all it really is at this point. It's just sort of young puppy love between the two of them. So what interests Jack about Lily is that she's this very martial girl who's into boyish things. And then what's interesting about Lily is that she has like all of these brothers who are into medieval art, so she's clearly picked this up by osmosis. She's a homeschool kid, so she gets to pursue these sort of historical interests of hers. So he's interested in her because he's kind of bored and he doesn't have many kids his age. She's interested in him because she's used to hanging out with all of these big masculine brothers at the home, but when they're off doing their thing, she gets bored, right? So they're interested in one another. It's kind of like a neat it's sort of a neat illustration of how in rural life, when there aren't that many other people around, you get interested when you finally meet someone else. At a fair, Jack is responsible for watching his sister. And I like how he makes little mistakes. He's a well-meaning young man, but he makes little mistakes, like he'll look at a book and get distracted, and he'll lose Maddie for a bit. So he meets Piper and what's the other girl's name? He meets two of the characters from Zeta the Space Girl. So this is where obviously there's some crossover, or this likely exists in the same universe of Zeta the Space Girl, where there are aliens, there's magic, there's other dimensions and other worlds, and this crazy, magical, strange, mysterious, dangerous world intrudes into like our normal little mundane world. And in J.R.R. Tolkien, there's a concept. J.R.R. Tolkien coined a word called eucatastrophe, where something terrible happens seemingly by chance, but it's actually good if you zoom out and look at the whole picture. Bilbo Baggins finding the ring is a eucatastrophe. Little did anyone know that that was going to be necessary for saving Middle-earth. So the eucatastrophe for Jack is as he's kind of like frustrated, his life is boring, he feels trapped. Maddie talks, which she never does, and she tells him to make this dumb deal. Trade your mom's car keys for the magical seeds. And because she never talks, it's sort of like he takes this as some kind of omen, and he does it. And Ben is really good at taking a break to show the emotional stakes of things. So this is a poor family. Mom's working extra jobs to make ends meet. Jack does something dumb. He gives away his mom's car. And so she comes home, and she just sort of like puts her hands in her head in her hands, because this is a problem that Jack seems to have done just by being really naive and stupid. And then Jack kind of takes responsibility for his actions by apologizing. Ben is really good at like taking a break from the magical things to sort of bring home the human impact of it. So Lily, because she's interested in Jack, comes over, and of course the magical beans start growing like this strange, garden where everything in the garden, like the fruits all give you strange powers. A lot of the plants, chase after them, and they gotta fight them. They gotta fight them off. So for the kids, this is just a big daily adventure. It's like The Secret Garden. I think Ben Hatke is taking a look at a lot of like good classic children's literature and fantasy literature, and he's mashing that up. So The Secret Garden, the little kids always go to their magical secret garden. The secret garden is almost like a metaphor for death in heaven, I think. But for them, their garden is a metaphor for finally having some adventure for their boring lives, and that comes with a lot of fun, but it comes with danger. There's also maybe an interesting aspect to this of part of growing up is trying to figure out what you're supposed to do when you don't know what it is you're supposed to do. When you don't have, like, those guys in the black hats are the bad guys, and those guys in the white hats are the good guys. What are you supposed to do? So Jack's problem is the garden is wonderful, it's exciting, it's a lot of adventure, but it's dangerous, and he has to protect his little sister. Jack doesn't like taking risks, whereas Lily is like adventure girl. She can't wait to like try the mysterious food no one's ever had before. She can't wait to go back to the garden and fight more monsters. And Jack is just worried about his sister getting hurt the whole time. So he meets a dragon, and the dragon's advice is, this garden is an infestation, you should get rid of it. There's so many, like, he's a good primal storyteller. Like, a lot of the conversations have like multiple meanings to them or multiple implications. So basically, Jack's problem is, does he take care of his sister and destroy the garden, or does he keep the garden and keep having adventures? Now, as this is all going on, his mom's kind of finally starting to recognize him as a young man who's growing up. You want a cup of coffee? And that's great, because he's used to her kind of like just getting frustrated at him all the time. She's finally recognizing that he's doing a good job taking care of his sister. So when his sister gets hurt during one of these little adventures, he sort of immediately makes the decision, my sister got hurt, I have to destroy this garden. Lily offers a counterpoint to that. So he thinks he's done the right thing. He thinks he's protected his sister. But she says, all you've done is you've killed these living things. Everything is dangerous, Zach. Living is dangerous. He thinks it was evil. She says it was magic, and you killed it. Ouch. So did he do the right thing? He had a really good reason. He wants to protect his little sister. But Lily sees the adventure and the danger of life as something worth preserving and worth keeping. And what he kind of has to come to grips with is now that his sister's lost that garden, she's withdrawn. She's better. He's pretty much just deprived her of her freedom in order to protect her. All of this is the setup for the climax, which is I gotta spoil everything. So his sister plants the last packet of seeds that he left unopened because he had a weird premonition about it. He felt like it might be evil. It is evil. The evil plant kidnaps his sister, and he's got to save her. But Lily and Jack work it out. So they've had like this cute little budding romance. They've had their first fight, but they come together for the noble goal of saving his sister. So I love that Ben Hatke likes stories about saving people. Now, something I liked about Zeta the Space Girl more than Mighty Jack is that all three of Zeta the Space Girl, all three of those books are, well, one especially is a good self-contained, Star Wars A New Hope story, where obviously it sets you up for more adventure, but you can read that and feel satisfied. Okay, I saw the beginning, middle, and end of her story. And then 2 and 3 are the conclusion of the trilogy. It builds on the adventure of Volume 1. It's a modern masterpiece. Jack, he ends with a cliffhanger of his sister's kidnapped and they're going to go save him. And Lily finally recognized that he's become a mighty person. He's become an adventurous person. He's a young boy who's growing into a man, and being a man means going on adventures and saving the people you love. That is like, I kind of wish that this Volume 1 was as self-contained as Zeta the Space Girl Volume 1 is, but the thing about leaving your audience on a cliffhanger is it's an act of trust. Do you trust them to take you on a journey and show you a great adventure that means something? And of course I trust Ben Hatke to do that, because he's demonstrated in all of his books that he really gets the importance of a child's imagination, and he really gets the importance of old stories like your J.R.R. Tolkien, obviously, your C.S. Lewis, your Chesterton. He gets the impact of these stories on developing young minds, where the fantastical elements are all about you overcoming danger, you overcoming difficulty for a noble moral purpose. So I can't wait. I don't know if the other volumes of Mighty Jack are out yet, but I can't wait for more of Mighty Jack. I can't wait for more of Mighty Jack meeting Zeta the Space Girl, if that's the direction it's going. You should just get Ben Hatke on your radar. This is someone who, I've said this before. So to conclude by restating my main thesis, Ben Hatke gets a fantasy story is about, there's the magical elements of it, there's the adventurous elements of it, but the core of the story is the emotion and the moral development of the character from a boy into a man. He gets it. Excellent. #1 Marmaduke fan. Love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. This is Going Back to the Library. Love you. Catch you later.